Happy Thursday, shoalmates, and welcome to the 127th installment of The Hot Mess Express with the lovely Miss Didi of Didi's Spin Den and I, Foxy of Foxy's Fishes. Thank you all for joining us this evening. It's so awesome to be back home. I look forward to this every week. How are you doing today, Miss Didi?
Well, I've got a lot done today already, so I got up early and did what I needed to do outside. So it was a great
No.
day.
Yes.
Love it.
Because actually, if you all don't know, technically for us, today is Tuesday. And that's because today's live stream has been pre-recorded because we have a very special guest. And it's to work with their schedule. So you guys are dealing with us pre-recorded, but we will be in chat to answer any questions or acknowledge any comments that you guys may have. But yes, this evening we are pre-recorded. So I want to say a blanket hello to all the showmates that have joined us in chat. And
So are we real right now?
I mean, we are real, but we're technically a little bit in the past. So.
Okay. A time traveler.
It's okay. It's okay. It's just all part of the mermaid spiel. We're magic. You know how this goes. But today we have a fantastic guest with us. We have Brandon Campos of I Wet My Plants Aquatics. We met him at the Clash. Miss Didi got to hang out with him at the Clash, actually, and speak with him. And today we have the opportunity to hang out with him. So without further ado, y'all please welcome Mr. Brandon Campos.
Hello, how are you?
Welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. How are you?
I'm doing well, keeping up with the consistencies of hanging out and looking at my aquariums and noticing something just isn't right and having to dip my hands in there to get it straightened out real quick. So I'll throw my towel back over there.
Just the life of a fish keeper. If your hands aren't wet, you're in the wrong place.
That's right.
Yeah. Just when you thought you were done, you're not.
Nope, never. It literally never ends. If we actually have issues in this between my wife and I, who, if you've ever been to any of the shows, my wife is generally working booths with me. She tolerates this pretty decently, overall, and she actually has begun to name plants when she sees them. So for that, I give her a lot of credit. But yeah, I mean, when I'm out here, if there's somewhere that we need to go or something that we need to do, it's, okay, but just one more thing, just one more thing, just one more thing. And, truthfully, that one more thing never ends. At some point in time, she just has to grab me by the back of my collar and pull me out.
Like, get in the car now.
Yes. And speaking of, since you said that you do shows and you spoke a little bit about plants, for those that don't know you, would you mind telling them a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
Well, myself is pretty boring, but what I do, like a lot of fish keepers, is I have a career that pays my way through life, and then I have this wonderful hobby business, as I like to call it, which helps me kind of give back to people and grow and have some fun. I think everybody kind of has their hobby, and you have your one fish tank, and you have your certain fish that maybe those fish don't get along with another type of fish that you want. So you buy a second aquarium. And then, of course, you see shrimp, and then you've got to get a third aquarium. And then you want cold water shrimp or cold water fish. So you get a fourth aquarium. And that's kind of what happened to me. But, to give a blanket answer of, what I Wet My Plants is it's an aquatic plant business. I do sell some livestock that are symbiotic with your planted aquarium. And what I want to do is I want to be able to provide people with aquatic plants the way that they should be. We've all been to stores where you see their plant holding tank and it looks like it needs a big hug and a lot of love.
I've seen more than my fair share of that.
Sure, absolutely. and that's even some of the, local fish stores, if you will. They've got a lot of overhead with having a business, and they're leasing properties and things like that. And from a business sense, it's we have to maximize every single dollar that we can, because we have overhead and we have to pay our family bills and things like that. And fortunately, at least at the current iteration of I Wet My Plants, is we don't really have that. So we don't just buy plants from a nursery and then sell them to the end user with a good luck. We take everything in, plant it, grow it, clean it, sometimes toss it if it starts looking poorly. But we want to sell plants to people that are already grown underwater, so the dieback and the melt is a lot less drastic, if any. There's wild parameter changes between what I have and what they have. I mean, there's always going to be some adjustment period, but it's definitely better than taking an immersed plant or a plant that's grown in dirt in a greenhouse and just sticking it in water.
Yeah,
so I think that's where crypts get their really bad name of crypt melt. Just leave it be and it will come back. When I take it from submersed grown to another aquarium, I tend not to get that suffering. But absolutely, when you get them from the nursery and you put them in your aquarium, they dissolve, and it's a long waiting game. So that's why my business model probably isn't the best. Stem plants, I buy in maybe 3 weeks, they're ready to sell. And of course, the space that they require. Crypts, I mean, I probably have 5 weeks from when I buy a crypt before I can actually sell it to to an end user. But people definitely appreciate it. I don't know that everybody's aware of the significance of what I'm doing and how it helps them. But that's why podcasts or shows like yours are really great. Get the word out to folks about why one thing's better than another.
and that's why we thought it would be awesome to bring you up, because we love the husbandry that you provide to your plants that you sell to other people, because not everyone does that. Not a lot of businesses do, but a lot of the hobbyist businesses try harder to do such as the submerged to sell to others. So we always try to promote the hobbyist sellers, businesses amongst us, especially if they're doing things right. We think you're doing things right.
Very appreciated. Thank you.
So,
and when I first started with plants,
Mhm.
I buy them, they die, and they would have came back, but I didn't understand that. And so I'd buy some more and they'd die, and then buy some more, and every once in a while one would manage to live, but this has been now, 2 years or so since I've started with plants and actually had some to actually live. But when you first start out, it is very hard. And if you don't understand that submerged, immersed, and all that, which I just recently understand it myself, as many times as I've heard it. But it does help having somebody like you, because you can buy that plant and chances are you'll be able to keep it, if you
Yeah.
take care of it at all.
Well, I definitely think it's easier for sure. There's no recipe for success online about a planted aquarium. There's a lot of suggestions. There's a lot of guidelines, but there's so many different variabilities between, what one person's doing and what another person's doing. I've had 2 aquariums right next to each other, getting the same level of husbandry, act wildly different with plants that are extremely similar. And I mean, that's the same source of water. It's the same substrate. Sometimes there can be contaminants in substrate that you can get, spores that lay dormant. And then once they get back underwater, they start, coming back to life, and you're dealing with, algae issues, interesting ones. And it's always perplexing. People, I don't think that I'm the best there is. That's for sure. There's a lot to learn. But occasionally I get compliments that, you grow such great plants. And I respond to that with, no, I've just learned how to defeat all the different algae that bother my plants.
That's true. That's
Well,
true.
I can definitely vouch for what others have said because the plants that you had at the show looked amazing. What I see online looks amazing. So I think you're doing very well with your plants.
Thank you. It's hard. It's very hard. The first, so I've been in business for, I guess we're going to go on probably 4 years this coming January. I think, is that right? 1, 2, 3. Yes, it's going to be going into the 4th year. So that'll be 3 complete years. We started a little bit before the world changed in 2020. My daughter was 2.5. And we had an old dog, and he was lovely and wonderful, but his life was coming to an end. And we didn't really know how you're supposed to teach a 2.5-year-old about the cycle of life. And I had this brilliant idea because I used to keep fish when I was younger. And I told my wife, I said, let's go get a fish tank. And she says, okay, sure, let's do it. So, like all things in my life, I can't go in, just a little bit. So go out and get an ensemble and, have our I keep these are our first decorations from the first aquarium that we had. So we have the hot pink coral in the freshwater aquarium.
Aww.
And then we have this one that looks like Lloydiella, maybe some Pagastomani rectus in the back. They're all plastic. And we got our little pink octopus back there. But what was that?
I said those are very cute. Not a lot of
They are, and they were all
not a lot of people
they're
like
all
to
my
have
daughter's
those little
selections.
fake decorations in their aquariums, but I think the occasional one every now and again is okay.
Oh,
I
sure,
still have
absolutely.
my first ones too. I still save them.
Especially when you're 3 years old. I mean, when you're 3 years old, it's like, wow, this thing's great. So we got that set up, and slowly over time, of course, for all the people that are out there that are really wondering, did my daughter learn about the circle of life? Yes, absolutely. It was a one of those neon green glow tetras, and that poor little guy lost his back fin from some fin rot, and then it was just the end for him. So she learned. We learned a couple things too along the way about quarantining our fish. And once my daughter became a little bit more disinterested in what we were doing, we would start exchanging her hot pink and purple decorations for some more natural looking plastic plants. And I had never kept plants before when I was a boy, and I had my aquariums at home. Everything in there was fake. We would do the whole pull every fish out, dump all the water out of the aquarium into the sink, and then fill it back up. I mean, that's how on point we were. So as this was going on, we had about 30 fish in our 20-gallon, and we took good care of them. Nobody was sick. Nobody's getting picked on. It was kind of like, almost like a cichlid world with a community fish tank where there's no aggression because there's just way too many fish in there. And I said to my wife, I'm like, okay, we're going to keep adding fish. We got to get a bigger aquarium. So for Christmas in 2019, I said, don't buy me anything. Just give me permission to go out and buy an aquarium. And I, went on the marketplace and I found a 75-gallon. I set it up and I dedicated myself to, doing live plants and doing everything natural and things like that.
Yeah.
And that's where it became really hard for me to find a supplier for plants. It was either a lack of availability or the pricing was really expensive. There were some local people that I was reaching out to, and, I would send them a message and it would be maybe, 1, 2, 3, 4 days before I got a response back, sometimes longer. And it was really hard. So eventually I bit the bullet and bought some plants from a facility out in California. They shipped them to me. I spent $308 on it for a 75-gallon. And when it was all set up, probably about a third of the aquarium actually had plants in it. And of course, they're small, they're immersed, grow your plants. I'm not saying that you should, every plant that you should buy should be, massive and huge, and it should ideally fit your situation. But a lot of dieback, a lot of learning. At that time, I didn't really know very much about your submersed and immersed and how to care and transitioning. And I was like, oh, most of my plants dying, but the top's looking pretty good. But, I just kept deep diving into this stuff and, eventually got it to work. So that was in November. By December, January, February, my plants had grown so much that I was trimming them and selling them locally. Actually, I wasn't even selling them. I was giving them away. I was just saying, hey, look, I got these plants. This is where I live. You can come pick them up. I would love a donation if you want to give me some money so I can, recoup some cost or maybe get something different. And surprisingly, a lot of folks would come by, 5 here, 10 there. One time somebody gave me $35 and I was like, oh, man, you're awesome. Thanks so much. And then, of course, March 2020 came and things were a little bit different. I'm a healthcare worker, so I kept working. And when we got that first stimulus check, I said to my wife, I said, hey, we're averaging about, $50 a month with this 175-gallon aquarium. What do you think about spending this money and getting some aquariums and putting them in the garage and growing some plants out there and seeing what happens? And, her famous last words were, just don't go crazy. And, I am literally surrounded on all sides, top and bottom, everywhere by aquariums right now.
Nice, nice.
These ones back here were the first 4. So those ones right there. So I bought the 4 aquariums, 4 filters, a CO2 setup for them. I've got to grow plants fast if I'm going to grow them. So I use CO2 with them especially the stem plants, to really kind of get them going. And that's it. I mean, everything else has been just rolling over and over and over again, trying to take the money that I make and putting it into, another rack, another system, insulation. We now have a real HVAC system out in the garage. I mean, we had to replace the garage door because we had the little aluminum one and it would freeze in the summer and freeze in the winter and melt in the summer. So, man, it's been a long ride, but it's been really fun. And I'm finally at the point to where one of my friends said to me, what's your goal for the end of the year? And I said, well, my goal is to not be able to keep up with the customers. And that's kind of where we're at right now. So the struggle's real, trying to keep everything moving and optimize my system to, have everything growing and have the options that people want and try to have it available. But it's all just scaling. It's got to get bigger if I'm going to meet demand. And in order to meet demand, no loans from banks, no credit card financing this stuff. This is all one person, 2 people, 50 people. They start buying and we start putting the money back in there. And there's some dumb expenses too along the way, but that's basically, that's it. That's me. That's what I got.
That's pretty
That's
awesome. So you went from 175-gallon aquarium to how many tanks are you currently sitting at?
My number used to be more impressive, but I started consolidating them. So we got 4, 8, 10, 14, 18, 21, 27, 30, 34, 36, 37, plus 5, 42 aquariums.
Nice.
Wow.
Gallons, it's hard to say about gallons, but I think we're somewhere around 2,400 gallons.
Wow. Would you like to show us around your fish room?
Absolutely, I would. And hopefully all of your patrons will understand what it's like to have a fish room and not judge my mess way too much.
I think we all know the struggle.
Let me see if there's an easy way for me to turn this camera around. I can just turn it on and off. Here, we'll do it this way. We'll just go backwards so you guys can look at my beautiful face.
That's a nice cheesy grin.
Here we go. All right, I got this. Sweet. Now I can.
Uh-oh.
Oh no, we lost him.
He got
Hopefully
it
he'll
that
pop
time.
right back in. He just got so excited, y'all.
Oh
But
wow.
this just happened, and he'll be right back.
Okay,
And we
so
are back. So he dropped off momentarily, but he's back with us now. So he's going to continue his tour. Thank you, Brandon.
Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that.
you're welcome. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you on a tour as I set up these aquariums. So, the ones that are in the house, the original ones, we're going to skip those. These are the first I wet my plants aquariums. So this one here is. Do you guys want me to talk about the plants that are in there? Or you just want me to show you around?
Whatever you would like to do. We'd love you to talk about the plants. We'd love you to show us around. We like both.
All right, sweet. So you just usher me along if we're taking too long. So number one, if you're going to have a nice fish tank, you definitely have to have your cleanup crew in all of your aquariums. And even with that, you can look at my back filter and just see that it's got little black algae spots on it, but it's fine. So here we have Crypneoia. This is similar to a Wentii in how it appears. It's more of a red color. I've got some spiral valve back here. These ones have a pretty respectable twist to them, but I have some other ones that are this is commonly called or scientifically contortion valve. Anyways, broadleaf chainswords. This is a great plant for people who want to maximize the amount of plant that they get for the money, because this bad boy will run everywhere. So as you can see at the front, one little plant, then here and here and here. So
Yeah,
I think it's. I
Well,
think
it
it's
looks
like
really good set up like that too.
Oh yeah, well, if I got my stem plants in the front, it's really hard to maintain the rest. So you got to set them all up the right way. This is Ludwigia repens Reuben, I believe is what this one is. I definitely like it, and I'm glad that we're doing this week because last week they were really small. Down below here, we have some Lloydiella green. This also comes in a gold variant. This is commonly called Creeping Jenny, which you can kind of grow out in your yard. In the back there, we have a very underrated Echinodorus or sword plant. That's a Uruguayensis tricolor. And yeah, you get that beautiful speckled purple new growth. And then from there, as it expands out, the leaves slowly start to darken. So you'll have dark green on the outside, a lighter green towards the inside, and that beautiful purple coming up from the middle. Bacopa caroliniana, Myriophyllum aquaticum, which is, it's wonderful, but man, this thing grows really fast. As you can tell, it's just totally going over the top. Monte Carlo, a nice carpeting plant. I actually grow it floating on the surface of the water. It just tends to grow better. So if somebody were to order this type of plant, we would portion out the appropriate size on the clump, and we would just go ahead and send it all to them. So this is 100%, grown underwater, ready to be planted without a whole bunch of melting. And
I have a question about the Monte Carlo. What is the best way to get it to stay on the substrate? What's the best way to plant it?
Well, I can go ahead and show you that. I can tell you the worst way to do this is to take this whole clump and just stick it in the ground. That's not going to work out too well.
I already messed up.
So what I like to do is I like to tear off a portion of about that size right there, and we'll let it float for a second. We'll grab our little tweezers down here. And don't try to do anything too beautiful to begin with. You just want to take your clump, just like so, and stick it in the ground just like that. You want it nice and deep in there so it doesn't float away. We'll dust a little bit of substrate on the top, and then you can grow and you go and grab your next piece. This one's a little bit smaller, but if you just continue to take these small little clumps and plant them around each other, in about 4 weeks or so, it'll just start to spread out and connect all the way around. So if you can imagine, sowing it like you would a crop, you'll have a carpet in no time, 4 to 6 weeks.
Now, is that
Nice.
4 to 6 weeks with CO2 or without CO2? Are you using CO2?
So yes, there's CO2 in this aquarium. Personally, as much as I may trigger some folks, I do believe that CO2 is an important part of your planted aquarium. I would suggest it to anybody. There's a lot of concerns and worries about that. We can actually get back and chat about this if we have time once we're done with the tour. Great opportunity to share, my feelings and some facts and kind of put some concerns that people usually have. Because as you can imagine, I hear the same things from a lot of people regarding that. But there's our mono shrimp. He's just doing his job right there, keeping it
I
clean.
love the mono shrimp, but they are banned from the house because they scare me. They walk on land like they belong there. I know they're good cleaners, but I have other cleaners to take their place.
Oh, yes, it's actually it's creepy. I completely get where you're coming from, because when you scoop them out of the water with a net,
They walk out of the net.
Yeah, the neocaradinas, they curl up in a ball, like a fetal position. Don't hurt me, don't hurt me. And you scoop the amanos out, and they just start climbing up the side of the net like, come at me. Let's do this right now. We're going to fight.
Yeah, I've had one run at me across the table, and I'm nope, they're not allowed on any of the table in the table tanks or anything near me. You got a couple left, and I'm just waiting for them to inch out.
Yeah, and sometimes they do like to crawl out of the aquariums too, but it doesn't happen so much. It happens, but not as much as I thought it would.
Yeah, not normal.
Here's our next tank. This is where I farm wisteria. It's a really easy plant for folks to grow, so I got to have a lot of it as it's regularly put into orders. We got some Philippine Java fern over here. Just all of it's growing together, making a nice big clump, so I'll have to separate that this weekend. Here we have some Crit Balance. It's coming along. As I said earlier, when you get it from a nursery, you have some really big depth, and a lot of it's just died back, and we're waiting for it to grow before it's ready to be sold. Dwarf Sagittaria up front.
Love the dwarf sag. I love how it carpets, especially for the nano tanks with all the shrimp. Love that one.
I think that it is highly underrated by a lot of people, especially if you're going with because it doesn't carpet densely. I think when you use a natural substrate with really small stones that are a natural kind of color, I think that it really accentuates the entire aquarium, the way that it spreads, but you can still see what's underneath it. I really like that look.
I agree.
So here we have some Apanagitan. This one is Crispus Purple, as you can see on
Beautiful.
the leaves there.
Beautiful.
And Hygrophila pinnatifida. This is one of my favorite plants because it's so versatile. You can plant this one in the substrate, and you can get stems that go straight up and plants that come off of it. Similar to, I can't see what my camera's looking at, but am I in the frame here?
Yes.
So these stalks, they can go straight up and you can keep getting plants. But it's also a trainable plant too, meaning that if you trim that stalk, then you start to get a bush.
Oh,
You can also put it on hardscape too. It doesn't need to be in the substrate. Obviously, it grows better in the substrate, but and when you put it on hardscape, what ends up happening is you get it to vine like this. So it's almost like an ivy as it spreads across your hardscape.
Yes. And the most I've seen that out in use in aquascaping is as an epiphytic plant instead of a substrate plant. So I've seen it attached to a lot of rocks and driftwood, and I always loved how it vines out and that flowy look to it.
Yes. The one thing that purchasers or users of this plant should be aware is that it really, really, really likes a lot of potassium. So if you want to grow it, ideally, you need to give extra potassium. Otherwise, you start to get little pinholes in it like this, except for they'll still be kind of attached to the plant itself. So
now, do you on your website, do you have the general care requirements for your plants?
It would be great if I did.
Maybe work towards that in the future, but these are awesome to know, these little tips.
Yes. I do have every intention of getting them together. It takes a lot of time. I think I have 106 varieties of plants, and each one's. I'm trying to keep it a little bit generic right now.
Yeah.
This kind of water parameters, this, that, and the other, but I'm continuously and always adding a little bit here and there and everywhere else. It's a lot of work.
It is.
It's a whole lot of work. So now
when
we
you're
get
small
to
business and you're one or two people doing it, it builds up fast. But slowly pick away at it. That's what we're doing, and you'll get it all. Yes, excited to see the next take. So leave that us.
So yeah, this is the next rack over here. This whole thing was, I wet my plants money. This is not our taxpayer government funded COVID money. And this is where my tank numbers dropped. So I used to have 20 longs all the way across this middle section here. And I was putting all of my low light Anubias and some crypts in there. And I just realized that I was making my life much harder than it needed to be. I want to ask you too, can you imagine what would be the largest obstacle that I deal with in my fish room?
The light all the way down to the bottom.
Largest obstacle. I don't know, because for every fish room it's different, the obstacle, but for us.
So my biggest obstacle is
CO2.
outlets.
Keeping your canisters filled.
Oh yeah.
It's outlets, electrical outlets. So, I don't want to use just sponge filters. If you're going to really trying to get to an ideal planted aquarium, and, as I said, everything's a little different. There are people out there who succeed with it, but, generally speaking, you want to have good circulation in the water. And sponge filters, while they do move water, you get areas of dead spots. Circulation isn't as much as you'd like it to be. So I would always put those small little, what are they? Like the little water feature pumps, the real small ones, like 60 gallon an hour. Yeah, but like the ones that you would use outside for like something in your yard. So it moves very little water. Either way, so I had that in all those aquariums and I was running out of outlets. So I just decided that we're going to set up these low boys and kind of do an all-in-one deal.
Now, what size is that low boy?
So this is your typical Zoomed 55-gallon low boy.
Nice.
You can see here that there's actually like a little frame for you to slide a screen on and off of it. Of course, I bought it secondhand, so there's no screen, nor do I actually need that there's going to be a screen. And you could see how far back this one goes. So this is, I believe this is 24 inches deep. Now,
I like the way you have stuff in baskets to help keep it separate.
Yeah, it's good. And then also you can just take the whole thing out too and say, okay, this needs this and this needs that. Unfortunately, sometimes plants start to fall apart and you just kind of got to go through there and be like, okay, well, everything's looking good now. So you just take the whole basket and put it right back in there and you're good to go.
That's an impressive run of bubble counters there too.
What, this down here?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got that one. We got those over there, and then we got one more back in that area, but we'll get there. So yeah, and then this was a custom one that I made. Excuse me, I didn't make this. This is a custom one that I bought. There was a guy local in Chapel Hill. He runs a business called Apex Aquatics, and he does aquariums and stands. And the dilemma was this. I had 36 inches of space. And most places that carry these low boys, they only carry the 55, which is 4 feet long. And I looked all over for the 3 feet version. I couldn't find it. So I called up Tyler. And I mean, it wasn't cheap, right? This is constructed really well, but it was a lot cheaper than what you were going to find online. So this one is 36 by 30 by 11 high. So I keep, more Anubias in there. As you can tell, we're a little bit low on stock, but that's coming in tomorrow. That's going to be a busy day. And then I've got some nice crypts in the back. These are undulatus.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Your plants all look so very healthy.
Well, thank you. If you want me to show you some unhealthy ones, we can. So here we have some Brazilian pennywort that's partially rotting away, but that's what happens. I get it from the nursery. I put it in the water. I deal with all the rot. I have to do excessive amounts of water changes to keep everything clean, so I don't get algae from all of the decaying plant matter. And then eventually we get it growing beautifully, and that's what we end up selling to folks. So here we have a lot of sword plants, and of course the red tiger lotus down at the bottom. Those are the Kleiner bar swords back there. They got those nice red leaves. And these are the green chameleons, which are a lot harder for folks to find. Actually, I only know of 2 places that sell them, but I feel like this is more of an elegant plant. The color that comes from it isn't so striking. It's very subtle. Almost like those folks that they sniff the wine and they, I could smell the barrel. This was definitely
as opposed
aged.
to the ones that chug it from the bottle.
Well, that might be me. I'm not gonna comment either way. So up here we have another plant, another tank that is mostly sword plants. I do have narrow leaf Java ferns in the back. And here we have some Legonandra red. And as you can see, they don't look so awesome. And that's what you get. It's a slow growing plant. And I'm buying them from the nursery. I'm letting them die. I'm letting them regrow. And then I'm selling them. So that entire process for this plant is similar to what I would get with a crypt. It would be about 6 weeks or so before it even gets to the point that I can sell it. Holanthium vesuvius. Now, this is one of my favorite plants. I just like how it looks. Very striking, curly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
texture.
Right there, you can see that's a nursery plant. So there's a lot of dying going on. All of those straight leaves are what grows when it's out of water. And these here are clumps of the plant that I've had in the aquarium for a long time. And they're actually giving me these beautiful twisty leaves. And then they shoot off these little runners similar to the broadleaf chain swords. And it propagates the exact same way. You just snip those runners and replant them. So this is Holanthium vesuvius, and that is the broadleaf chain swords is Holanthium bolivianum quadracostis, I believe is what the name is. That's a long name. But of course, you're beginning. Right. But see, plant names are hard for a while until you start to make these connections. So we have those 2 Holanthiums, and then we go down here and we have another Holanthium. This is Holanthium tenalis, which is commonly referred to as pygmy chainswords. And they do the same thing. So this is a low carpeting plant that shoots off little runners and carpets that way. And here's a picture of the runners right over here.
Nice.
Oh, that is so cool. That's like picture perfect.
Yeah. So I grow them, and then when I sell what I'm going to sell, or when I get too much up there, I put them down here, and then they start expanding, and then I sell them. It's really hard to keep them in stock, actually. Again, that's kind of like, my biggest curse is the space to grow these things the way that they need to be grown, so I can always have them for everyone. But it's impossible. No matter what, you're gonna get busier, and then you're gonna struggle some more, and then you're gonna expand, and then things will get good, and then you'll struggle some more. Pagostemon octopus in the back. This is a super easy to grow plant, super beautiful. Oh, and we got some algae too, guys. Check it out. Woo. So,
and you saw
those are incredibly dense, though. Like I have some pogostemon octopus here. Mine doesn't grow as dense as that, though. But then again, I'm also not using CO2. I'm just have it growing at the background.
It could also be how you're trimming it too. So, if you really hack this plant, so you saw me at Keystone. Keystone was what, 3 weeks ago? Is that about right?
Yeah.
So this was all the way to the top of the aquarium, and right before Keystone, just cut it all in half. And so each stem that you cut grows into 2 stems. So that's kind of why it looks so dense right there. But it also looks really dead in the front, like not dying, but it's not coming forward either. So it's going to grow up. And then once this gets tall enough and dense enough, it's going to shade the plant below. And then that plant's going to say, hey, wait a minute, we need to get more light. It's going to start growing out this way too. So,
So just trim it really, really low. I think that's the thing is I'm not taking enough off the top.
Yeah, you can do it in the foreground. You can do it in the background. You can even use it as like as a breeding mop for
my crocodile
for your breeders.
Just like to hide amongst it to hunt. So that's what I use it for.
Yeah. Let's see. We got more swords. So this is our fancy twist sword. This is a great one. A lot of striking Merlot kind of colors, curly leaves. I very much like that.
Wow.
This is another sword plant. These are newer. So this is the Echinodorus aflame, which is a cultivar. I'll show you an adult version of this, but these are, what's great about this is that for people who ask for easy to grow plants for their low tech aquarium. So this one will maintain the color and it's really easy to grow too. It's just getting it transitioned to water. It definitely needs CO2, but once you're done transitioning to it, you can take it away and it'll be fine.
Nice.
Hydrocotyle Japan. We got some Bacopa over here. It looks similar to the other one, but this one is actually a different variant. And the only reason I'm keeping it around is so eventually I can start growing and selling it again. This one isn't even on the website. I don't do much with it. And then this rack, I don't even know what this rack is, guys. I got my fish here. We got our reticulated hillstream loaches in there. We've got some gold laser quarries. Those are ruby tetras, which are a very small nano fish, similar to ember tetras, except for they get, when you get them in a good environment, a small aquarium with some good plants, they get really deep red and they got a little dot on their tail. And I love nano fish. We got our Amano shrimp cleaning the mystery snail. Yep.
Everybody needs some help every once in a while.
Exactly.
That's right. That's right.
Even the cleanup crew needs to be cleaned sometimes.
Oh yeah. I used to have a nearite snail in here that had a patch of blackbeard algae on his back, so it looked like a little mohawk, and he would just always be going, and that algae would just be blowing along his back. I thought it was great. I didn't count these tubs as my aquariums, but I do use these too. So I get these oversized Anubias plants that I like to sell, and they just take up too much space, and they don't require nearly as much love as some of the plants that I need to put in these aquariums. So I just put them in tubs down there.
Good
Here's
idea.
another Anubias. I didn't count these 2 aquariums either. Here's my tea water aquarium. Don't even ask me what that is.
Beautiful.
Jungle
water
Val.
is great for fries. Jungle Val.
And then we can pretty much just round off with these last 4. I mean, the tour is getting rather long, but these 2, this 75 and this 75 down there were the most recent setups that I had. This one did amazing for the first 6 weeks that I had it, first maybe 6 to 8 weeks. This is the corkscrew valve, which was similar to the spiral valve. Let me pluck off one of the leaves of here. I haven't had corkscrew valve on my website in probably like 4 months, because whenever I order it from nurseries, it just doesn't. It's not as tight as that bunch that I have over there. So I got to grow it all out myself. And for some reason, it was very stunted in this aquarium for a long time, but it finally started blowing up. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, but we'll put that in there and you can see the difference between the 2.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So this is the spiral valve. It's listed as spiral valve on my website. It's contortion valve scenario. And then this one here is the corkscrew. God, it's so tight. Which
of the 2 gets taller?
despite the short stature of this here, I've gotten this one to grow up to 20 inches tall.
Oh, wow.
And the contortion valve generally is, I mean, you'll get a couple freaks in nature every once in a while,
Mhm.
but typically you're going to see that one between 8 and 10 inches.
Okay. It's good
And
to know.
then last but not least is this guy. This is a fun aquarium. I've got some plants in here that I am getting ready to add to the website that I haven't sold before.
Beautiful.
But yeah, this aquarium was such a pain. Now, are you ladies familiar with the term par rating?
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, so for people who aren't familiar, par rating is, I think it stands for photoactive radiation, something like that. But basically, it's how much light is in your aquarium that your plants can actually use to grow. So it's not just about the brightness; it's about the usable light that's coming off of it. I suppose is the most lay way to say
Mhm.
it. Now, different lights, different manufacturers, they come with different par ratings. Sometimes the companies are very cryptic about how much power the light that they're selling has. Other times when it's a really impressive number, they are not so much cryptic about it.
Mhm.
And this light down here I bought, never having it before. It's a Weak Aqua Pandora series.
Mhm.
It was impressively priced, but I'd never tried it before, and I love to try different things to be able to, give people actual experience feedback versus what we find on the internet a lot of times, which is people saying things that they've seen other people say with no practical experience. And well, either way, let's just say that I had that light turned on at full power, and I went away for 3 days at work. And when I came back home on that fourth day, I had brown algae from the substrate all the way up to the surface of the water in a 75-gallon. So I had, what is it, 21 or 24 inches? I think it might be 24, but either way, let's just say it's 21 inches. 21-inch tall algae. And from that point on, it was, let's try and recover this aquarium. And it's taking me, gosh, I haven't been able to sell anything out of this aquarium for a long time. And it's just in the past 3 weeks that it's really, everything's growing good. It's beautiful. Nothing's stunted. And so, I will conclude the tour with that. But if you want to ask me any questions about, plant care that your friends might have questions about, your viewers might have questions about, whether it's fertilizing or how I feel about CO2 or anything like that, you just let me know where you want to go with it.
Oh my
Speaking
goodness.
of fertilizer, what's
just
your
wanna-
favorite fertilizer?
Yes. We have about 8 more minutes left. So-
8 more minutes. Okay, cool. So favorite fertilizer is not the fertilizer that I use. Okay. My favorite fertilizer is the Tropica Specialized Nutrition. It's a all-in-one, squeeze it in. It's really simple. It's really easy. But honestly, it's just too expensive. For anyone that has more than 4 aquariums, the amount of money, especially if you're using CO2 and brighter light, the amount of money you're going to spend on a liquid fertilizer is, it's a waste of money when there's cheaper alternatives. And I'm going to step out of the frame for a second and show you. Now, this is not a product that I use. This is just a bottle from the product. But I use dry fertilizer powders, and I weigh them out. I add them to this bottle here, and then I add distilled water to it, or RO water, and I make my own fertilizer compounds with it because it's significantly more cost effective. $35 in dry fertilizer will last somebody with less than 10 aquariums well over a year, where you would be spending that in 1 month with the all-in-one kind of systems. So it can be a little intimidating, but hopefully in the near future, I will have a help section on my website that will explain all of the things that I've learned about it. But what's so great about those dry fertilizers is if you happen to live on a well, or if your city water has high amounts of nitrates in it, and no matter what you do with your water changes, you're always getting high readings. You don't want to be putting a fertilizer in your water that has even more nitrates in it. And when you use dry fertilizers, you can just 100% completely omit your potassium nitrate from the equation. You will add zero. You'll just use what's in your water naturally and what your fish and your food produce. And then you can still get your plants the potassium and phosphates that they need to grow well.
Yes. I have one of those kits that I bought a year and a half, 2 years ago with the little jug thing.
Yep.
And it's still sitting in a basket because I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Well, it's
maybe we can have you back again for a how-to before you get it up on your website, because I think people would love to hear that. I wish we had more time to do it today. We'll definitely have to have you back for it, because yes, I would definitely love to pick your brain about CO2 and how you deal with it in your fish room. Definitely talk more about first and just some more plant care. So if you would like to in the future, we would love to have you back.
I am available whenever you guys need me. The one thing I want to do is be there to help people to, get their hobby as good as I can help them make it.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And where can people find you online?
So a couple places. My website is iwetmyplants with an S.com. I have a Facebook group, I Wet My Plants Aquatics by Campo Aquatics. It's nice because when I do get new stuff in, I can kind of highlight, hey, this came in, or this is available. And all those people that are, members of that group, they know right away. I don't want to be the guy who spams your email box. I don't want to do it. Probably best for business, but I know how many I delete. So when I get, like, for example, corkscrew valves available to purchase, those people, they're going to know first. So those are the two ways. We have a show this weekend. Stock's going to be pretty low for about 2 or 3 weeks after the show until we get it back up. But then our next show isn't until spring of next year. The first one will be Aquamania in Pittsburgh, North Carolina. Then we'll have the Aquatic Gardeners Association is in Raleigh this coming year. So really, I was given a number of how many people they think are going to attend. And I said, we're going to get more than that. So come on, people. If you like plants, come on out to that. And then we have, hold on, one last plug. And then we have our Aquatic Expo, June 1st and 2nd in Charlotte, North Carolina. And this one is lights out. It's going to be probably one of the best shows you'll ever go to. So you should absolutely mark that on your calendars and attend.
Okay, so for this weekend, where can people find you out and about?
This weekend is going to be the Southern Aquatic Experience, and that is going to be in Columbia, South Carolina.
Nice. Okay, and weekend, correct?
Yeah, that's going to be this weekend. I think it's the 21st. It might be the 22nd. I don't know my days of the month as they correlate, but maybe you guys can put a link down to it. I'm sure they would love that too.
Definitely, we'll add that in chat when we play this, because like we said earlier in the beginning, that this is a pre-recorded live stream. But we are almost at the end of our live stream, so I wanted to say thank you so very much for taking the time to show us around your fish room, Brandon. It truly was a treat. I was just loving sitting back here just looking at all the plants. It was gorgeous. And I'm definitely gonna have to hit up your website, because you showed some plants I'm interested in. So thank you for your time. We'd love to have you back to talk some more CO2 and fertilizers and more plant talk when you can. And like I said, just thank you so very much for being here with us this evening. Miss Didi, is there anything you'd like to say before we head on out for this evening?
Well, I'm very fortunate because we are in the same aquarium club. So I met Brandon through that and just happened to see him again at the Clash. So it's like, oh, yay,
That's so awesome.
But, yeah, so, And I went through that whole website to make this little video behind me. So I know what you have, Brandon.
Ooh, got some more goodies for you, Didi.
You're so
And
awesome.
he says, "Psst, hey, lady, I got something for you."
So very cool. And
It
that's
was- it
awesome
was
that you
great
guys live
seeing
close to each
that.
other. So if I ever want anything off of him, I just tell you, go grab that and you can send it to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you
And
also
you do
ship as
ship,
well.
right?
I do
Yes.
ship, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, he does ship.
Awesome. So either you can hit up Didi to bother him, or you can hit him up directly on his website or find him through Facebook. But again, thank you so much, Brandon. Miss Didi, thank you so very much for being my constant PIC, my co-host. I love you so very much, and I want to say thank you to everyone that has joined us this evening. If there has been any super chats, member milestone chats, any member gifting, any super stickers, I want to thank you guys in advance because currently we're not seeing them, but we will address them in chat during the live stream. I want to say thank you so very much to the mods for all the hard work that you do, whether it's dropping links to the random things that we speak about, keeping us safe from bots and trolls, and just keeping the general peace in chat. And I want to say thank you to all of our members, our watchers, our lurkers, our replay crew. We love each and every one of you, and we can't wait to be back with you next week. Same bat time, same bat station. We love you all. Brandon, thank you so much. And we'll see you all next week. Have a great one, guys.
Thanks, bye-bye.
Here is her mom milk. Here is her baby milk.
What's that? Is that a snail? Snail. What about that? Is that the cats? Bailey calls them the cats. You gonna give them kisses?